because of reconstruction of many of these countries, they allowed a lot of these. Kamala Harris. So they allowed a lot of these Asians to enter to work as workers, basically. So which led to formation of a big Indian diaspora in America and many of these European countries later on, which was different from the old labor diaspora. So in that sense, like nation states policies are very important in terms of regulating these migrants and the diasporas. And then the issue of citizenship remains very important because citizenship only decides how they are going to, how their cultural production will be there or if they will be able to retain their cultures and so on. For example, most of these Western diasporas in the Western countries in America, one can actually become a mayor or a governor and so on. But in Gulf countries, you cannot become a citizen. Okay, so that limits your rights in many ways. You cannot display your cultures and so many things. So in that sense, like it does have a very significant impact on the living conditions, their association, their integration with the society, and so on. Then we have issues in the sense like Benedict Anderson contributed quite a lot in terms of imagined communities. Most of these diasporas and long distance nationalism, they have been connected with their homelands. If you look at the most of the characteristics of diaspora, homeland becomes one of the salient characteristics there. And in the present day, even home states policies or homeland policies are also very significant in many ways. Many of the countries have been like tapping these diasporas for different purposes, like for trade and other things. Even Indian government since 2003 has started celebrating Pravasi Bharatiya Divas in variety of ways. I mean, it is trying to engage with its almost 30 million strong diaspora, which is dispersed in almost 180 to 90 countries. So in that sense, like political science has contributed quite a lot in understanding these political issues associated with the diasporas in within the community, about citizenship, about the host society, and the homeland in that sense. Okay, and then moving to the economics, basically it is majorly concerned with the migration, labor migration, which has been going on, the global markets, developmental economics. Along with that, remittances are very significant. Remittances are the money which is received by the family members of the home country, which is sent by the diasporas of the migrants. So, in fact, India is one of the countries which receives highest remittances to the tune of almost $90 billion, or more than that, around every year from the diasporas, mostly coming from the Gulf countries. So definitely the economy of this migration is very important in the sense like they're choosing the destination, their movement to a particular places, like all this movement for, this mobility for education, for work, and so many things that are very much associated with the economic decisions in many ways. They are going for better opportunities. And then remittances also play a very significant role in terms of the social mobility of the home countries, especially, for example, if we look at Kerala. So Kerala is Kerala's almost 1/3 of economy is actually run by the petrodollar. So they receive large remittances from the Gulf migrants, Keralites specifically. So a lot of people have actually contributed in this, in the sense like looking at the idea of brain drain, brain gain, or remittances, the financial flows, how they help or contribute in the development of their home countries, or economic development basically. And in fact, Jagdish Bhagwati was talking about the beneficial brain drain, where a lot of these migrants from India, they have become global citizens and contributed quite a lot in different fields. If you look at from Sabir Bhatia to present day Google CEO, and many of them, they are like global citizens in many ways. So their contribution is more global in that sense, and even economically or otherwise also they are well placed. So economics as a discipline helps us in understanding all these issues. Then psychology is another discipline which is also important in the sense because the old or the classical diaspora was has certain degree of trauma which was associated with their forceful displacement because they were exiled compared to the modern diaspora which moves by itself. We still have populations like refugees or the people who are migrating because of war from different places. I mean, definitely they face a lot of these traumas which are there and have significant impact on the psychology of these communities, individuals, and the communities. Okay. And then they also have memories about their hostland, okay, or homeland, basically. These memories over a period of time, what it does is these memories become collective memories, not the individual memories of migration. Okay, individual memories are like you remember whatever happened in your life, but as a group, they have a collective memory about the historical movement, for example, like the old diaspora which we have. So they have this whole history of journeys on the ship. So they will have a very different kind of collective memory which is being recreated in these host lands. Nostalgia is also another very significant concept. It's like desire to return back to their homeland. And in fact, diasporas have a very strong desire to return to their homeland, but people hardly return back. So what they do is like they recreate these homelands in their host countries. So a lot of recreation of these memories are there, collective memories. Like you visit many of these countries, like Mauritius, they have this Ganga Talab. So Ganga Talab is a replica of the river Ganga in India, where every year they celebrate this Mahashivratri. Basically, it's a big Shiv temple. So they're celebrating this in the sense like they're recreating India in Mauritius. So that kind of memorialization is happening, or these collective memories are being created. Along with that, there are issues of intergenerational dynamics. Because first generation have direct memories about their past, whereas second generation don't have any real memories. But what they do is they live the memories of their parents, grandparents, and so on. Most of this Indian diaspora and so on. So they have never seen India, but they remember India through the eyes of their forefathers. For many of them, it's like 4 or 5 generations, but they still retain these memories through different means, like language is one, okay, or songs, dance, so many things in that space. So they have retained all of these as a part of collective memory and nostalgia. So, okay, so this was part of how multidisciplinarity or different disciplines help in understanding the issues of diasporas. When we look at how diaspora studies are interdisciplinary in that sense. Okay. So diaspora studies is basically interdisciplinary, where what happens, interdisciplinary means it integrates and synthesizes concepts and data and methodologies from different fields or different disciplines to create new unified approaches which transcend traditional disciplinary boundaries. Unlike what sociology was doing or what political science was doing or literature was doing, here it tries to integrate and synthesize these, the concepts, data, and methodologies of different disciplines to form a unique form of disciplinary, approach to understand the diasporas. So it's not just applying existing knowledge, but about creating new theoretical frameworks which are specifically tailored to study the diasporas. And the nature of this, interdisciplinary nature of diaspora are reflected in these points. First is it merges theories and methods. It combines the historical analysis with cultural theory. It also uses ethnography and along with literary interpretations. It integrates political economy with identity studies. Okay. These are very important in the sense like political economy has very important role to play in the identity formations. For example, like as many of these diasporas, as their political economy has improved, the size of their temples has also increased. This is interesting. In Indian diaspora, in 19th century or early 20th century, the size of their temples was very small. But as they prospered over a period of time, the sizes also kept on growing with the prosperity. So in that sense, like it integrates different concepts together, like how religion becomes a very important means of displaying their this cultural identity because of the political economy. Then secondly, it creates hybrid concepts which emerge because of cross-pollination across disciplines. For example, transnationalism or hybridity, creolization, multi-sited ethnography, then post-memories, deterritorialization, and so on. Many of these concepts have been evolved to understand the issues of these diasporas. For example, like deterritorialization. Because the classical understanding of diaspora was associated with the Jewish experience, where they moved from a specific land, which was Jerusalem. So they had a memory of certain homeland. Okay. But what about African diaspora? Because African diaspora did not had any memory about their homeland. Africa is a big continent, so they cannot actually talk about a specific homeland from where they migrated. Like Jews can always talk about its geography, land, so on. But Africans did not have any sort of thing. So what they did was they created a fictitious kind of homeland, which was somewhere in Ethiopia, and they created this mythical homeland where they could return. And in fact, a lot of these Afro-Americans, they used to visit this homeland every year as a pilgrimage part of their ritual pilgrimage to see this homeland, which was more of deterritorialized in that sense. It was not very important. The homeland was very fuzzy in that sense. Or if we talk about the other populations, like many of them, they don't have that kind of idea of homeland within any specific location. Okay, so it becomes very important to understand these concepts. Deterritorialization was able to convey or understand these issues where homeland doesn't, or this physical land is not very important in that sense. Rather, it's even the memories of their homeland becomes quite significant. And then, thirdly, it produces new methodologies like studying communities across multiple countries, analyzing digital diasporas. So we also have these cyber communities which are networking through or with the help of these cyber technologies. They're using these mixed methods or using both quantitative and qualitative methods together. And then lastly, it generates holistic understanding. So interdisciplinary, it helps in explaining how diaspora identities are shaped simultaneously by its history, culture, politics, and the psychology. And the literature also starts reflecting material conditions of migration. Then how these nation states and global capitalism shape these diasporic experiences. So it provides certain kind of journalistic, holistic understanding about the diaspora, which is unique. And in fact, many of these thinkers have basically clubbed together different disciplines or integrated these disciplines to understand the diasporic experiences. Like Stuart Hall's cultural studies, or James Clifford and Paul Gilroy's Black Atlantic, Auta Bra's idea of, she was combining this feminist theory with sociology, then Arjuna Padurai, and so on. Or so interdisciplinary nature of diaspora studies basically results in a richer, more nuanced picture of dispersed population than any single discipline can provide. So it has both multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary approach together. And in conclusion, we can argue like diaspora is too complex to be confined to a single discipline. And the diaspora studies, which basically stands at the crossroads of many academic traditions, bringing from social sciences to the humanities. It involves a lot of these things. Like we have already discussed many of these things, like movement, their settlements, identity, creativity, literary, arts, media, so many things, and power, economics, and so on. So a lot of these are requires both multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary approaches. So multidisciplinarity basically it's multidisciplinary in terms of its sources of information or knowledge, and interdisciplinary in its synthesis. So diaspora studies basically uses multiple disciplinary approaches to understand migration and identity, while blending these approaches to develop new insights and frameworks. And diaspora studies is a dynamic and evolving field that is capable of analyzing the complexity which is inherent in contemporary global mobility and the cultural exchanges. So, thank you. That's it.
Okay. So, thank you so much, sir, for your deliberation. Now, I request the participant please raise their questions. Diaspora, I always think, has to study diaspora. You know, both language studies and social sciences can contribute a great deal. So, please, anyone who wants any clarification or okay, Dr. Srimoy Banerjee. Dr. Srimoy Banerjee.
Yes, sir. Very good afternoon, sir. Sir, first of all, thank you, sir, for this informative, analytical, and insightful lecture and demonstration, sir. I just want a clarification regarding this. Sir, if anybody is doing research on folk narratives, folk culture in on a specific ethnographic group, so it will come under the section of diaspora studies?
It depends. Like if it's a folk narrative, or I mean, which belongs to a diasporic community, because as we have been talking about, diaspora is a group of people who are living outside their homelands. They're not in the homeland. So if we are studying, for example, like folklore in India, so obviously that cannot be considered as part of diaspora studies. But if we study the folk which is actually existing in many of like old Indian diaspora, for instance, in Mauritius or Fiji and many of these places, it has been preserved. So that will be part of the diaspora studies. Okay, so that distinction has to be made in the sense, because diaspora studies is specifically about the population which has been dispersed or which is not in their homelands. So that is the classical distinction.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to raise a question? Anybody else? Check the chat box. If there are no more questions, now I request Mr. Shamim Barbuya to please deliver the vote of thanks.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Shamim Barbuya, feel honored to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of MMTC Assam University, Silchar. I want to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Shailendra Kumar, sir, from the Department of Sociology, Assam University, Silchar, for sharing your knowledge on interdisciplinary research in language and culture. Your presentation were enlightening and thought-provoking, which will help us immensely in our teaching profession for the coming days. Okay, once again, thank you, sir, and all.
Okay,
Thank you. We are waiting for the next resource person, so we will start
in 10 minutes.
within 10 minutes. But don't log out. So the
Excellent,
session.
sir.
Yeah, we'll start the next session in next 10 minutes. So participants don't log out in between, because your hours of joining get recorded automatically in the software. So please don't log out. Keep it on mute. You can switch off the video, but don't log out. Okay. So we'll start in 10 minutes. वो है
डॉक्टर हार्दिक जी, आप कुछ असाइनमेंट के लिए पूछना चाह रहे थे?
हार्दिक,
एनी क्वेरीज अबाउट द असाइनमेंट?
Sir, regarding assignments, I have a small request, sir. Can we get a 1 day or 2 day extension?
So your last date is about, I think, 20th of November. So
Yes, sir.
after 2 days, the program will be over.
Okay.
On 22, this is a valedictory. So उस दिन हमें सर्टिफिकेट भी इशू करना है. So before उससे पहले हमें कमेंट करने के लिए वो चाहिए होगा. So it's better to submit on 20th.
we need at least 2 days to.
So we'll have.
Okay, thank you, sir.
नमस्ते सर. हेलो.
जी नमस्ते मीनाक्षी जी, बताइए.
जी सर एक्चुअली क्या हो रहा है कि संस्कृत और अंग्रेजी में अपने बहुत सारे लेक्चर हुए, और जो 2 दयाशंकर जी का, तिवारी जी का और अपने झा सर जी का हिंदी में हुआ था. तब तक तो नहीं पता था, कुछ चीजें हमने नोटेट की है, पर वो 1500 शब्द में नहीं उतर पा रहे हैं. कोशिश तो कर रहे हैं. अभी चौथा वाला लेक्चर है, तो हो सकता है शायद उससे मुझे मदद मिल जाए. एक तो हो चुका है, जिस दिन मैंने बहुत थैंक्स दिया था, उस दिन का तो मैंने नोटेट कर लिया है सर. पर हिंदी का होने की वजह से ना हम लोगों को ना समझने में बहुत दिक्कत आती है. एक तो संस्कृत वाले जो व्याख्याता थे, वो संस्कृत में, तो संस्कृत का भी इतना लावलेश नहीं होता ना हम लोगों के साथ, तो थोड़ा समझने में दिक्कतें हो रही है. तो
स्पीकर्स जो हैं वो तो इंग्लिश और हिंदी थोड़ा मिला करके बता रहे हैं. और आज भी जैसे प्रोफेसर दिव्य ज्योति भट्टाचार्य जी का था, उनका प्रेजेंटेशन तो लगभग
किया सर, मैंने भी उनका भी नोटेट किया. जी नहीं, कोशिश कर रहे हैं हम कि आपके जितने वर्ड्स है उतने को कंप्लीट कर पाए, पर दिक्कत है. तो सेम प्रॉब्लम है.
आप कोई भी दो अपने
जैसे
पसंद के सेक्शन ले लीजिए.
आप अपने पसंद से कोई भी वो ले लीजिए, और कोई ऐसा ये वर्ल्ड लिमिट है, मतलब इतना तक होना चाहिए, उससे कम थोड़ा बहुत होने से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. इतना ठीक है.
और
नहीं
थोड़ा सा
पता ना.
आप
जी
काफी
जी
सेक्शन फिर भी है जो आपको
जोड़
इतने.
सकते हैं सर. जी कर सकते हैं सर, अपने से भी
अभी-
बहुत सारी चीजें जोड़ सकते हैं. जी,
और अभी आगे भी और भी सेशन होंगे, तो उसमें आपको और मटेरियल
आ
मिलेगा.
ही जाएगा जी सर. पर मैं एग्जाम को लेकर थोड़ा परेशान थी सर, कि एग्जाम जो होने वाली है वो कौन सी भाषा से संबंधित होगी, तो उसमें भी
एग्जाम में जो भी सेशन हुए हैं वो सेशन से रिलेटेड ही होंगे, और मीडियम उसका इंग्लिश होगा.
हाँ, वही तो दिक्कत है हमारी, कि इंग्लिश को ही लेकर तो दिक्कतें थी. ठीक है ना, अंग्रेजी और हिंदी को जोड़ के नहीं हो सकता सर?
अच्छा, आपको इंग्लिश में प्रॉब्लम हो रही है?
हाँ सर, कुछ वर्ड होते हैं ना, बहुत डिफिकल्ट होते हैं, अभी हम लोगों के लिए मतलब नहीं हो पाता. तो
हम कोशिश करते देवनागरी में, और
हम दोनों लैंग्वेज में हो सके
हो सके तो सर प्लीज. अगर नहीं हो रहा है तो देखेंगे ही, पर मुझे ऐसे लग रहा है मेरी ना शायद मुझे ही दिक्कतें आ रही है वो सारी चीजों को लेकर। तो अगर होता है तो, नहीं तो रहने दीजिएगा सर, पर
बहुत
मेरी
इजी होगा ऐसा कुछ वो नहीं है, फिर भी हम कोशिश करते हैं कि बाइलिंगुअल हो सके।
कोशिश करेंगे।
जी जी जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
So we will start the last session for the day. So before we start the session, we would like to felicitate our resource person. So I request Dr. Govind Sharma. Okay. Now I request Dr. Muhammad Aziz. Sir.
Yes, sir.
So I request you to formally welcome our guest and give a brief introduction about Sir to all the participants.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable resource person, honorable coordinator of this program, respected participants in various modes from various places. I am Dr. MD Aziz, Assistant Professor in the Department of Philosophy, BB Kishan College, Baksha. On behalf of organizing committee of this refresher course conducted by MMTTC, Assam University, Silchar, I welcome Honorable Resource Person, Professor Swagat Kumar Nath Sir, all the participants and all my friends, colleagues. I extend a warm welcome to our resource person whose presence adds great value to this program. We are deeply honored to have with us Professor Swagat Kumar Nath Sir, a distinguished scholar in his academic field. Today's topics, studies of language and NEP 2020. We hope we will learn from you in this session. Your insights will surely enrich our learning experience throughout this course. He is an expert in language and linguistic, drama studies, Indian English writing, new literature in English. He has joined at Assam University, Silchar, in the Department of English in 2009. He has published more than 30 articles in national and international journals. He has 11 book chapters and many conference proceedings. Once again, I welcome you, sir, and all to this enriching journey of knowledge. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Aziz. Now I request Sir to take over.
Yeah. Thank you. Good afternoon and namaskar to everyone. Hope I am audible to you. Okay. So,
yes.
Yeah. Thank you. So I would like to congratulate Dr. Govind Sharma and Dr. Deshmukh for organizing this program. It's not very easy for the organizers to do all the needful, very difficult task, but it is very, very important that we organize such program and, thereby talk a lot about NEP 2020 and we know the various dimensions of it and thereby, contribute to nation building, the development of the nation. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to be here. It's a great opportunity for me. And after a long time, I mean, more than a year, I believe, I'm, at least speaking in a hybrid mode. In between, all the online talks were there. So hybrid mode talk is interesting at least. If not, it's a whole, in-house training program or whatever it is. So National Education Policy 2020, and now it is the end of 2025. So more than 5 years we have crossed with this National Education Policy, which has set a kind of target of around 15 years to accomplish its dreams. And so keeping that thing in mind, we have crossed 5 years. And I have had the great opportunity of delivering a number of talks. And thereby I had the opportunity to revisit National Education Policy again and again and again. And that has enriched me, I believe, in understanding the principles behind this. This document, which is not new to anybody, is divided in 4 parts: school education, higher education, other key areas of focus and making it happen. And this document, though it is in 4 different parts, has to be considered as one document, and reading any part of the document only would be absolutely wrong. Because when today I'm going to speak about, say, gender sensitization, inclusive education, and NEP 2020, I had to look at the entire document. Otherwise, it would be absolutely incomplete. I could not just imagine that I would be talking to college and university teachers and researchers and thereby focus on higher education. That would be a very wrong way of looking at NEP 2020. The title of this presentation is Gender Sensitization, so this will be one important thing. Inclusive education, which also includes gender sensitization, and how NEP 2020 addresses these 2 things. So this will be the focus of this presentation. I'll be speaking about certain general principles, and I'll be speaking about NEP 2020, and I'll be reading out certain sections from the document. I'll be reading out for the purpose that that my interpretation in any way should not give a kind of wrong interpretation of NEP 2020. I'll read out and I'll discuss as well. So I begin with what the document begins with. Please come back to the previous slide. I'll request you to make the changes. I'm reading out from the first with what the document opens, introduction. I quote, "Education is fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. Providing universal access to quality education is the key to India's continued ascent and leadership on the global stage in terms of economic growth, social justice and equality, scientific advancement, national integration, and cultural preservation. Universal high-quality education is the best way forward for developing and maximizing our country's rich talents and resources for the good of the individual, the society, the country, and the world. India will have the highest population of young people in the world over the next decade, and our ability to provide high-quality educational opportunities to them will determine the future of our country." Now, the basic purpose for reading this first paragraph is speaking about the main principles of this education policy. Because when I was preparing this, because I was asked to speak on gender sensitization, gender issues, I was thinking how people might receive it when you are speaking about an education policy, and simultaneously you are also speaking about gender issues, how these things are to be connected. There is a very close connect between all these things in the document. And therefore, I have read out the first paragraph, which says that it is through education that we have to think about the development of our citizens who would contribute to the development of this country. India in the next 10 years from 2020 would be a country with most number of young people. And, it depends on what you give the young people, the product that you get. It depends on what you give them. If you give them education, you will get a better world tomorrow. So that is what is the idea behind this entire policy. And this is a very interesting document. I think we should read it again and again. Because it not only speaks about, people generally speak about the structure of the 4+, 3+5 and all these things. This is a very rudimentary, fundamental thing. This document actually speaks about a holistic, it has a holistic view and a kind of development of the country in various phases. And gender becomes important over there. So please remain on the same slide. I'll be speaking on something else and then come to it. Now I'm reading from chapter 6, the beginning of chapter 6, from the first paragraph, a few sections. Education is the single greatest tool for achieving social justice and equality. Thereby, gender becomes important here. Inclusive and equitable education. It speaks about inclusive education, equitable education. Therefore, gender issues are also included in it. Thereby, gender becomes important in its policy. While indeed an essential goal on its own right, it is also critical to achieving an inclusive and equitable society in which every citizen has the opportunity to dream, thrive, and contribute to the nation. The education system must aim to benefit India's children so that no child loses an opportunity to learn and excel because of circumstances of birth or background. The policy reforms that bring bridging the social category gaps in access, participation, and learning outcomes and social education will continue to be one of the major goals of all education sector development programs. Now, why I am trying to point out all these things is because my title speaks about inclusive education, including whom? Inclusive of everyone, every citizen of this country. With this, I would request you to move to the next slide. Yeah. This is the scheme of my presentation, where I'll be briefly speaking about the idea of sex and gender. Then I'll be speaking about select European and American thinkers on women's issues particularly, select Indian thinkers on women's issues. Then I'll be speaking about gender sensitization, inclusive education, and NEP 2020. Then I'll express some of my concerns. Then there will be my concluding remarks, and then there will be some time for interactions. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay. Now, this is a table through which these are very basic rudimentary ideas, but still I'm showing you. This is the idea of sex and gender. Sex and gender are never same. Sex means the biological aspect in us that is there, the physical features we are born with, the physical features that we have at birth. And we know that primarily there are two different types of sexes, masculine and feminine. And of course, there are the third genders. So in a way, three categories, so to say. When it comes to gender, it has almost nothing to do, it has to do and also nothing to do with gender, or with sex. But it is a kind of product of the society, a kind of product that society makes out of us. We usually speak about society making women. Society also makes men. Men have to be like this, and women have to be like this. This is what society dictates us. Okay. And then the other idea is what we become. Simone de Beauvoir, the French theorist, has a very important statement where she says that we are born as sexed individuals, but our gender is shaped. We become women. Our gender is shaped by the society, by the societal demands. We all know that there are certain demands that society has on both men and women. So conforming to those gender roles is becoming that gender. Can we move to the next slide? As I had mentioned that I'll refer to some Western thinkers. So we have got one European, one American thinker here who speak about women's issues. One is Simone de Beauvoir, French feminist theorist. The other is Judith Butler, who is an American. Simone de Beauvoir comes early in the 20th century. Judith Butler comes later in the 20th century. And they bring about two different perspectives about gender, which though they are different from each other, but we look at them as a kind of continuity. So Beauvoir, as I have mentioned, says that society makes women, society gives gender identities, society helps in becoming one man or a woman. This is what is the societal role. The other thing that she speaks about, a very important thing, is subject and the other. That is, in the society, society looks at men as the subject and women as the other, meaning that women's identity depends on the identity of the men. Man is at the center point, and woman is defined in relationship to the men. Somebody's daughter, somebody's wife, somebody's mother, something like that. And woman does not have an identity. She spoke in 1949. The world has significantly changed. And the change has happened because of them, because of their contribution only. American theorist Judith Butler, I have deliberately written the word performance twice. That's not a mistake. Deliberately, I have written it twice. She speaks about gender identity, gender formation as a kind of performance. Now, what is a performance? She speaks about the world of theater, and she says that in a theater, what we do is that we perform certain roles. That happens in a film, that happens in a dance performance, everywhere. a kind of idea is given beforehand, and people do it accordingly. So what they do is that they perform. We say they have performed in an outstanding manner. Judith Butler says that gender identity is constructed because of this performance, because of this performativity. People perform gender. How do people perform gender? People perform gender by following the societal dictates that the society has given. There is no book probably which society has given in a patriarchal society, but it is the customs, traditions that has given some idea, isn't it, Govind? So, like the way the grandmother used to perform her gender roles, the mother also used to perform in the same manner, and the daughter continues it in the same manner. And so, what happens is that gender is constructed through performance. It does not change. If you follow what your mother did, I'm addressing particularly the women and the men also, mother or the father did, and the grandmother or the grandfather did, then it will be a kind of performance. Same thing happening again and again, performance. There will be no change. I've used the word performance once again with reference to Judith Butler. I'm so sorry, the spelling is mistake. Misspelled the word. It is B-U-T-L-E-R, not Buthar. Okay, I'm so sorry. It is B-U-T-L-E-R. It's my mistake. Butler. So Butler says that why I have used the word performance once again. She says that we perform gender, we continue gender by performance. We cannot go beyond performance. But what we can do is that we can change the societal demands, ideas of gender by performing gender in a different manner. By performing gender in a different manner, we can bring about a kind of new gender identity. Now, if I wish to take a concrete example, for example, if the society says that, man cannot be weak, a man has to be a man, he has to show manly attitudes, and the woman has to appear, very, timid, very shy sort of thing, staying indoor and things like this. If we do not do it, if we do not follow this performance with arguments, of course, not just because we want to do it, with arguments, then what we are doing is that we are performing gender in a different way. If you have been asked to perform a role in a particular manner, you have done it for years, and you change it, then what are you doing is that you are changing the idea of gender. So it is through performance we continue with the gender, and it is performing the gender in a different way that we create new gender identities, and thereby we relieve ourselves, free ourselves of the shackles that the society has given us. So whereas Simone de Beauvoir in 1940s speaks about the idea of becoming a gender or subject and the other, and of course she suggests that it is the women who have to come forward to free themselves of the shackles. Judith Butler shows us the way later in the 20th century that it is by performing gender in a different manner, we can create fresh new gender identities, and thereby we can come out of the shackles of the gender that we are in. Thereby I have used it twice. Let us move further. Coming to select Indian thinkers, I've taken only one here, Swami Vivekananda, who mentioned that women's education is extremely important. What he wanted to mean by that is that educating women was so very important in those days. He meant that. And what are the reasons? He said that it is through education that women can be empowered. It is very important because empowerment of women will question the world ruled by men. And which is important because this will bring in another perspective. This will bring in fresh life to our lives. He also said that women should be empowered through education so that they can solve their own problems. Men should not appear as a kind of messiah to solve the problem of women, that we are the people who can help you out. That construct, that idea should be done away with. Rather, we should focus on the idea that women should be made strong enough that they can handle their issues. And he also meant that the future of the country depends on the education of women. He also specifically mentioned that children who are the future citizens of the country, should be well educated, and for their education, their mother should be educated, so that the mother can give them the best products, the best knowledge, so that the children develop as better citizens, and thereby the country develops. Now, I tried to bring in this idea of Butler and Beaver and Vivekananda to say that education of women is so very important, empowerment of women is so very important, and which is proposed by our National Education Policy 2020. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, now my presentation will be more focused on NEP 2020. I've set the background, and as I mentioned earlier, I will be reading a few things from the document, and we'll be discussing those. NEP 2020 is a document which is holistic in nature, and it is a comprehensive document on all aspects of education. So education, I'm reminded of Henry Newman, who had written an essay. The title of the essay is The Idea of a University, where he mentioned that university teaching does not happen only in the classes. Teaching happens in the university, in the air of the university, in the atmosphere, in the buses, in the canteens, and everywhere. Everywhere teaching happens. So that sort of an idea is something I know I can connect this with National Education Policy 2020, where it is a comprehensive document on all aspects of education. It does not only speak about curriculum and only about classroom situation and things like this. The document speaks about creating an ambience where education happens, learning happens. That is what is the most important thing about it. It speaks about inclusive education, which means learning for all. I have already read from chapter 6, where the idea of inclusivity is there. So this is inclusivity means includes all students, irrespective of their place of residence, historically marginalized group, disadvantaged, underprivileged. Now, if we look into these words, education has to include all students, irrespective of their places of residence, whether they reside in the city or in a village or in a remote village which is very close to a forest. Education has to reach all. That is the primary objective, all, irrespective of their caste, creed, sex, religion, gender, whatever it is. It has to go there. Here, it speaks about including historically marginalized groups. In India, if we say that, nobody has been marginalized in this country, this will be absolutely wrong. There are groups of people who have been historically marginalized. So those also have to be taken into consideration. Disadvantaged groups, people having various disadvantages. It may be physical, it may be emotional, it may be financial, whatever is the kind of disadvantages, education has to reach them. And the underrepresented group also are the people to whom education has to reach. Now, as I've mentioned, it is more than 5.5 years of the policy, and a lot of things which are proposed in the policy have actually taken place. I was thinking in terms of, a few days back in our university, we had Karma Yoga training sessions, and we'll have more sessions in the next few days for the colleagues who could not attend earlier. So through this Karma Yogi training sessions, a kind of idea of everybody is important and everybody has to contribute to the nation's growth is the main thing that is inculcated. A few days back, I got to know from a colleague of mine who was invited at NIT Silchar for a talk on Adi Karma Yogis. So she, discussed the matter with me. I found it really interesting. I tried to find out what is this Adi Karma Yogi. This is a concept that the government has developed, which has to do with the Adivasis, therefore Adivasi Karma Yogis. Meaning that I'm not trying to compare the situation with any previous government. I'm not making a political statement here. That's not my purpose. Our purpose is absolutely academic. What I'm trying to say is that I don't know what happened earlier. But the government agencies are trying to reach every citizen, everyone. And this also comes under this inclusivity. The idea of the inclusivity, include everyone. Let everyone feel that they are the citizens of this country and everyone can contribute to the growth of the country, not only the people who are sitting in the metros. Everyone has a share. Everyone has to contribute to the growth of the country. So this is what is the idea of inclusivity in this policy. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the slides are given the heading like, gender sensitization, inclusivity, education, and NEP 2020 continued. Flexibility for students in choosing curricula. We all know that, NEP 2020 has given a lot of flexibility to the students to move across with the curriculum and so on and so forth. I'll be reading out a section on flexibility. While students must have a large amount of flexibility in choosing their individual curricula, certain subjects, skills, and capacities should be learned by all to become good, successful, innovative, adaptable, and productive human beings in today's rapidly changing world. So, though there are this idea of flexibility, but certain principles everyone has to learn. In addition to proficiency in languages, these skills include, other than proficiency in language, certain other skills are very, very important, which are scientific temper and evidence-based thinking, creativity and innovativeness, sense of aesthetics and art, oral and written communication, and so on and so forth. I'll pick up one expression only from there. One of those things that are that everybody should be made bound to learn is gender sensitivity. People should be sensitized on gender issues. I remember having attended a short-term course in 2017 at Nehu Shillong. That was on gender sensitization. Sensitizing people on gender issues is so very important. People are quite a bit sensitized nowadays on gender issues, and which helps in workplaces, in every field. So gender sensitivity is one of those things which is very, very important. So this policy gives utmost importance on flexibility, including gender sensitization, as one of the things that is to be done by everyone. With this, I move to the second point on this slide, which is a logical framework for making ethical decisions. The policy also speaks about the idea of making better citizens, not only students, not only people who score very high marks and get degrees, but people who are empathetic human beings, good human beings, who have got some sort of sense of empathy, ethics, and so on and so forth. So thereby it speaks about the idea of a logical framework for making ethical decisions. And once again, I'll read from the brief section from the document. Students will be taught at a young age the importance of doing what is right, not just anything. Right means something which helps the society, which helps the community, which does not create any sort of disturbance or problem for anybody. And will be given a logical framework for making ethical decisions. A logical framework they should be given, which will make them help in making ethical decisions. In continuation to that, that document also speaks about the idea, I quote, as consequences of such basic ethical reasoning, traditional Indian values and all basic human constitutional values such as seva, ahimsa, swachhata, satya, nishkama karma, shanti, sacrifice, tolerance, diversity, pluralism, righteous conduct, gender sensitivity are very, very important. When I was reading through these words, I'm sure with many of these words you could connect yourself in today's world. Seva, ahimsa, swachhata, satya, and so on and so forth. So these are very important values that we should inculcate along with the idea of gender sensitivity. So why I'm reading from the document, I'm trying to give you a kind of first-hand idea about how much importance has been laid on gender sensitization. It's not just, be gender sensitized. With every important thing, gender sensitization is attached. Because otherwise we cannot grow as a society. We'll grow only as men and women, not as citizens of the country together. Am I going very fast? Is it fine with you? Okay. Is it getting bored in any way? Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. With this, we move on to the idea which is there in the same slide: decent and pleasant service learning conditions at schools. People who are employed, they usually have a problem, a lot of things to say about work environment at various places, classroom facilities, sitting facilities, toilets, and other things. This document speaks about that as well. It speaks about addressing those issues. So there is a section called Service Environment and Culture in this document, where it speaks about the idea of, I'm reading out, idea of this decent and pleasant service conditions at schools for the learners as well as for the teachers. The first requirement in this direction, I quote, the first direction in this requirement in this direction will be to ensure decent and pleasant service conditions at schools. Service condition has to be decent and pleasant. Infrastructure and other things are so very important. Adequate, safe infrastructure, including working toilets, clean drinking water, clean and attractive spaces, electricity, computing devices, internet, libraries, and sports and recreational resources will be provided to all schools to ensure that teachers and students, including children of all genders and children with disabilities, receive a safe, inclusive, and effective learning environment and are comfortable and inspired to teach and learn in their schools. So it is not just asking people to come and attend, have classes and learn a lot of things, but the policy speaks about creating such atmosphere where learning becomes possible, where learning becomes interesting, and where people feel like coming to the institutes. It is about teachers, about students, and about support group. No one should feel that, I'm not wanted there. Please look at the very important words that are there, very fundamental things: working toilet, clean drinking water, electricity. And along with that, what is added is people of all gender should be given equal treatment. So gender, this document speaks about gender more than maybe 50 times, giving importance on gender issues. There is another thing that the document speaks about, which also includes gender, is the concept of ACDG, which I have written on the next point: socioeconomically disadvantaged groups. ACDGs include women and transgender people. So at discussion, there is a series of discussion on socioeconomically disadvantaged groups. And there the document categorically speaks about the issues of gender, and it particularly speaks about the conditions of women and the transgender people, that they are to be considered as at par with all other citizens and given equal importance and opportunity. So here, so I've already spoken to you about this idea of inclusivity. So the socially disadvantaged groups can broadly be categorized on gender identities, on socio-cultural identities, on geographical identities, on disabilities, and socioeconomic conditions. These are the 5 broad categories of SADGs. I'm repeating: gender identities, socio-cultural identities, geographical identities, disabilities, and socioeconomic conditions. The policy speaks about including all these people, and the first people that it speaks about is gendered people, women, and the third gender. Thereby, gender has been given so much of importance. Thereby, I brought in Vivekananda here, because Vivekananda spoke about the same idea of inclusivity, of providing education to women. Vivekananda also spoke about the idea of providing separate schools and colleges for women. This document does not specifically speak about that probably. I did not come across anything like that. But it speaks about creating an ambience where women feel that, yes, this toilet is for me also. This is a place for me also. Because there are a number of, probably till today, there were for sure, a number of institutes where there was no separate toilets for women, for girls. So those conditions had to be addressed. Otherwise, people don't feel like going there. The next point is SCDG 4.6 to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The document speaks about that. Lifelong opportunities for learning, meaning, as many of you know, in today's world, we have got FYUG program, even PG. You can complete it in 4 different stages, 4 years course. You can complete the first year, get a certificate, take a break for a few months, come back, do the second year, take a break, and you can come back. Your credits are reserved in the ABC Academic Bank of Credit. And it is not that you have to begin it afresh from the first year if you come after a period of time to do your course. So this is one way of continuous education, lifelong opportunities to learn. There is no upper age limit for education. Anybody at the age of 60, if he wants to learn, he or she, he can. So creating that kind of opportunity and ambience becomes very, very important. Then the policy speaks about, now, for creating all these things, you need money. You need money. The government has to provide money for all these things. Government has been providing. These MMTTC course says people are participating for free. They don't have to pay any fee. Government is spending a lot of money on this, giving remunerations to the honorarium to the resource persons, infrastructural facilities, and a lot of other things. For what? For extending the process of learning, so that people can get it. So this fund is very, very important. The policy speaks about a fund which is Gender Inclusion Fund, to be generated by the central government and to hand over a major share of that to the state governments, to provide equitable education for all girls as well as transgender students, especially for girls and transgender people. Those facilities are to be given. Therefore, money was needed. I'm reading from the document. The fund will be available to states to implement priorities determined by the central government, critical for assisting female and transgender children in gaining access to education, such as the provisions of sanitation and toilets, bicycles, conditional cash transfers, etc. Funds will also enable states to support and scale effective community-based interventions that address local context-specific barriers to female and transgender children's access to the participation in education. The policy aims to eliminate any remaining disparity in access to education, including vocational training for children from any gender or other economically disadvantaged groups. I unquote. I'm again and again reading from the document to point it out that this document at length speaks about gender issues, bringing in parity amongst gender, and that the world should not be ruled by men alone, but should be by all people, because all are citizens of this country. Now, this Gender Inclusion Fund specifically speaks about contributing to the education of women and transgender people. It speaks about, as I have mentioned, sanitation and toilets, bicycles, conditional cash transfers. I'm not very sure about the implementation of these policies, but I can relate it to something like, in Assam, what you see is that government is providing scooties to girls who have come up with good results. I don't know what is government's policy, laptops, scooty, laptop, and then the new in thing is what is this? Nijut Moina. Nijut Moina. I'm not at all. It's not a political propaganda here for me. It's not my purpose. I'm absolutely apolitical in nature. But government is ours of all the citizens. Why government is doing all these things, I do not know. But how I look at it is that when a girl is given a scooty, she is no more dependent on her father or brother to take her to college or school or to private tuitions, which are absolutely necessary in certain subjects, and to other places where she has to go. She is becoming independent. When some amount of money is given through Nijut Moina, this is encouraging people, making girls realize that, that they are important, that they are not just dependent on their parents for their education. They have some amount of money, and which will stop if they stop their studies tomorrow. So this conditional cash, this could be a kind of conditional cash. The condition is that you have to continue your studies and the money will be provided to, credited to your bank account. This amount, 1250 or something like that, appears to be a small amount, but that appears to be a very big amount to the person who has got it. Who has actually got it, somebody who does not have to ask for her little needs to her parents tomorrow, who also feels the importance of getting money, thereby would be inspired to earn money maybe in future. So these are some of the ways in which you can look at the positives of these things, how these things are contributing to the growth. And who knows, this is probably an offshoot outcome of that policy. I'm not sure about that. I have not gone for that sort of a study. And this could be a kind of utilization of the gender inclusion fund. I'm not sure of that. But the idea is similar. Last December, there was an exchange program between Assam University, between Assam and Chhattisgarh. Assam University was a nodal institute for Assam, and for Chhattisgarh it was IIM Raipur, where exchanges of students and exchange program happened. And it is not because I was closely connected to that exchange program, Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat Abhiyan. I did not go to Chhattisgarh, of course, during that event, but otherwise I was connected to it. So it is not just visiting places. It is visiting places, knowing people, knowing their culture, making them know your culture, your language. It was a kind of exchange where the idea was even that some people will go and stay in the residence of some other people of this place, and vice versa. So these cultural exchanges that are taking place through various policies, these are also ways of bringing people together, making everybody feel that they are important in nation building. We move on to the next slide, please. Yeah, this is what I was speaking about, this gender inclusion fund. And then comes the issue of gender sensitization. Further speaking on this, here, who would make whom gender sensitized? So that is one question. Who would sensitize whom? So the responsibility mainly lies on teachers. Now, who would sensitize the teachers? The teachers means all the teachers would be sensitized by specialists on gender sensitization, and they would spread it on their students. So the policy is absolutely clear on this. I'm reading out once again a section. Students will be sensitized through this new school culture brought in by teachers, trained social workers, and counselors, as well as through corresponding changes to bring in an inclusive school curriculum. I unquote. So students have to be sensitized in the school itself. Forget about higher education. They have to be sensitized there. And when they come to higher education, they should be, by the time they should be absolutely gender sensitized, having concern and empathy for all. So they would be trained, the students would be trained by the teachers who are otherwise trained by trained social workers and by counselors also. Last year, on behalf of the university, on behalf of the school rather, the School of Languages, I attended 3-4 sessions on counseling provided by UGC, Education Ministry through UGC. A number of teachers from these university participated, representing each school. Where utmost importance has been given on the mental health of people, some sort of counseling, helping them out, and so on and so forth. In the absence of trained counselors, how to talk to them, listen to them, know about their problems, and try to suggest them solutions. So all these things are, probably are offshoot of this education policy. I further quote, the school curriculum will include early on material on human values such as respect for all persons, empathy, tolerance, human rights, gender equality, non-violence, global citizenship, inclusion, and equity. So, everywhere, among every important thing, one thing is gender issues, gender sensitization, gender concern, gender equality. That is what the document again and again speaks about. There lies the importance of this document vis-a-vis gender issues, gender sensitization. So gender identities, gender issues are given utmost importance, and the support from others means the teachers, counselors, and other trained people. Steps to be taken by the government. The policy also speaks about the steps to be taken by the government, and those are I'm quoting, earmark suitable government funds for the education of ACDGs. I've already mentioned that ACDG also includes women and the third gender category, the transgender and others. Next, set clear targets for higher GER for ACDGs. Then enhance gender balance in admissions to higher education institutes. So we speak about, reservation, this reservation, that reservation, and so on and so forth. Thinking about gender balance is also important. I mean, that is what the government should do according to this policy. Enhance access by establishing more high quality higher education institutes in aspirational districts and special education zones containing larger number of ACDGs. This is another requirement that the government has to fulfill. And provide more financial assistance and scholarships to ACDGs in both public and private HEIs. Conduct outreach programs on higher education opportunities and scholarships among ACDGs. One of those outreach programs is something that I have mentioned, Ek Bharat, Shreshth Bharat, and so on and so forth. So these are the responsibilities that the policy entrusted upon the government. Government has already started working on many fields. The responsibility also lies on HEIs, higher education institutes. Steps to be taken up by the HEIs. I'll be reading out only 3 or 4. One is provide more financial assistance and scholarship to socio-economically disadvantaged students. This is the responsibility of the higher education institutes. Now, higher education institute, where from they will get the money, that's a question that will be taken up, handled by the higher education institutes. There are government policies and so on and so forth for this. But the responsibility according to the policy lies on higher education institutes. Conduct outreach on higher education opportunities and scholarships. Make admission process more inclusive. Include people from all sections, more inclusive. Increase employability potential of higher education programs. And only education will not serve the purpose, therefore increase employability potential courses, so that people are attracted toward those courses. People come to attend institutes and they are benefited. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah. So before these concerns that I have, I would also like to mention here is that, as I've already mentioned, that this policy was adopted in 2020. It has a time limit of around 15 years. It has a future vision of 15 years. that in 15 years, all these things will be achieved. We've crossed 5.5 years, almost 5.5 years, because it was adopted in July 2020, if I'm not mistaken, most probably 29 July 2020. So we have come a long way. We have achieved a lot of things, and in 15 years, I'm hopeful, I'm confident rather, that we'll be able to achieve this. We have another, means the country has another goal of, making this country a Viksit Bharat in 2047. We're not far away from 2047. And if we have to make this country a Viksit Bharat in 2047, implementation of these policies would be very, very important. And because we have spoken about SCDGs and all the groups, inclusivity and all these things, this education policy includes all the citizens of the country, irrespective of anything. So if all start contributing, in small bits and pieces also, the country would flourish. That's the idea. And we also know that 2022 to 2047, these 25 years is called Amrit Kal. This is the Amrit Kal when we will contribute in significant ways for the growth of this country in becoming a Viksit Bharat. And we have crossed almost 3 years from 2022. 3-4 years we have completed. So all these things ultimately the vision is, to contribute to making India a Viksit Bharat. And NEP 2020 is a very significant document. We in the academics, as students, as teachers, as learners, have significant ways of contributing to nation building and the growth of this nation. And I'm also a master trainer of Karma Yogis. So I know from those premises that, the idea is that all of us need to contribute irrespective, even beyond our rules, for making our country better. So with this, I come to the concerns. How to achieve all these things? The government, the policy speaks about government's role. Government has to play its role. The policy speaks about the role to be played by higher education institutes. They have to play their role. The policy speaks about the role of the teachers. They have to play their role. The policy also speaks about the role of the students. So if all of us contribute, achieving all these things is not at all difficult. Forget about impossibility. We can achieve all these things. We can actually, by 2035, we can actually, much before that, we can actually implement and the vision of NEP 2020 to our life. Who would come forward? That's the second question. Everyone has to come forward. And if some people do not come forward, others will take their places. They will be left behind. That is what is the world now. If somebody thinks that I will not contribute, they may not contribute. But there will be many other people to contribute. It's a country of so many people. So there will be people to contribute. Do we have the intent to do this? That's a very important, significant question. Do we have the intent to implement NEP 2020? Do we have the intent to contribute to nation building? That is the primary question. And if our intent is clear, if we want to do that, we will be able to do so. So I'm not only hopeful, I'm quite confident that NEP 2020 will become a success. Viksit Bharat, the idea of Viksit Bharat will become a success. With this, I thought of we shall overcome. And I have not ended the quotation there deliberately, because this takes us to the next slide. Can you please come to the next slide? Yeah. Here I've quoted this very famous lyrics, "We shall overcome." I'm not going to sing it here, because if I sing, all of you will run away from here. But what I'll try to read out is the third and the fourth line of every stranger. Let me read out the first one first. From the first line, "We shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday." And if we look at every fourth line of every stanza, we'll find the same lines being repeated. "Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday." If we believe, we can actually become. I'm a great fan. I have been a great fan of cricket. So there is there is a company called SG. You all know, those who are fans of cricket, you are familiar with that, SG. SG has beyond SG's logo, it is written, believe, become. I strongly believe in this principle. If you believe, you can become something. And therefore, I've quoted these lines that, oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. If we strongly believe that these are principles which will take our country to a different stature someday, then we will actually be able to implement these policies and make this country a better one for the future generations to come. Next slide, please. Concluding remarks, inclusivity is the mantra. So we cannot leave out anybody. Everybody in this country is important. Everybody has a role to play in nation building. Everybody is to be taken care of. It is not that it is only the responsibility of everyone to contribute. It is also the responsibility of everyone to help each other out. We cannot just, become big by ignoring others. Everyone is important. Everyone has to be taken on board in our journey. It is not only the responsibility of the government or the higher education institutes to do that, but as citizens, we believe it is our responsibility to take everybody in the stride and move ahead in contributing to the nation building. And because our topic is gender, in a patriarchal society, women are still neglected. But if you look at the position of women, I'm a 50 years old man, so at least I have a strong memory of 45 years of my life. If I leave away the first 5 years of my life, the condition of women has significantly changed. Has improved significantly rather. But there is a long way to go. There's a long way to go. And all of us need to contribute to that. The women have to come forward. That's what I mentioned through Butler. Women have to come forward. Therefore, I mentioned, Beaver. Women have to come forward. And the patriarchal world, and I don't mean men. Men are not evil. The patriarchal mindset is evil. The patriarchal mindset also includes women. And the patriarchal mindset also leaves away certain men, good number of men. So it is not men, it is the patriarchal mindset which we have to overcome. The call has to come from the women. Men have to contribute in a significant way to that. Gender sensitization is absolutely essential. In today's world, our students come to us, girls, tell us that, sir, I'm in my periods and I'm having an extreme cramp on my stomach and I have to go back home. Just speak it out to us. My contemporaries, my sister, maybe my wife, probably they've never dreamt of it. And we understand their situation. In one of the universities, I'm not going to mention the name without their permission. In one of the universities, 2-3 years back, they came up with a regulation that 2% of attendance of women will be overlooked, will be considered, absence will be considered as presence because of this menstrual issues. So that's a university in Assam. I'm not going to mention the name. I cannot do so in a public forum without seeking the permission. And I don't have the document with me now. This is a very welcome decision. So this happens because people are gender sensitized quite a bit nowadays. Therefore, this happens. NAP will lead to the realization of Viksit Bharat that I have already discussed. And these are my concluding remarks. With this, we come to the next slide, which is yours, interactions. I request all the participants to give their feedback and ask me any question or observation. I'll be really enriched if I can go back home with certain observations, certain questions. And I'll also be very happy if there are certain questions which I fail to answer, because that will open up new avenues for me to read further, understand the document further. Thank you all for your patient hearing. And now I'd earnestly request you for your feedback, your observation, your questions. Thank you.
So, anybody questions? Any feedback?
I was very fast. I wanted to keep 30 minutes for interaction. I'm not in a hurry to go back home. We are never in a hurry. And so let us interact.
Check the chat now.
Offline participants and scholars
May also raise, please.
You can type your question in the chat box also. You can seek other clarifications from Sir regarding NEPL.
Right, right. Dear participants, there are a number of thank you messages. Thank you so much for this. But I'd be very happy if there are a few questions or observations, or as Sir has mentioned, further clarifications on NEP, on gender sensitization. Those who are present here may have some questions, doubts, or there might be something that you did not like at all. We could not hear you.
I think Dr. Sonali Ghosh want to ask something.
No, Sonali is she.
Okay.
There's a question.
Can you kindly mention research-oriented funding ambition by in NEP 2020? Yes, of course, NEP 2020 speaks about funding for research. That fundings have to be provided for research, because teaching will happen only when research happens. Without research, there cannot be any teaching. And NEP 2020 gives utmost importance on research as well. A policy as such cannot speak about any funds to be released, but it can just propose funds, and it has proposed. And the government, through various agencies, have already started releasing funds. Other than the traditional agencies like ICSSR and CSIR and Makayas and others, there is a new means for a few years, which is on funding policies through IKS funding policies. There are several research projects being funded through IKS, which is also closely connected to NEP 2020. Please visit the ministry website, Ministry of Education, and the various wings that it has. There are a number of avenues for research. You can visit those and
thank you, sir. Actually, sir, I wanted to know from you. Earlier, we had the opportunity to get MRP, minor research project, major research project, UGC funded funding for national seminar, international seminars. So actually, I am planning to do an MRP. So can you kindly tell me some funding agencies?
Though this is not directly connected to the talk, but there is no problem in speaking about it. May I know what is your discipline?
I am from humanities, sir. Arts and humanities.
Right. So for arts and humanities, ICSSR is there. We have got Makayas, we have got ICPR, we have got ICHR, and several other bodies are there. These are government bodies, but then several other bodies are also there, which provide funding for seminars and conferences for projects as well. A few days back, only 6-7 days ago, I think ICSSR has released one proposal for this, major and minor, and the last date is not yet over. Sometime in December, 15 December, it will be over. Thank you very much for pointing it out. This is another one.
That was different. Was the project on?
There are several
only, and now the major one.
Thank you.
There's another question in the chat box.
Acha.
So the IKS division is there.
Gaurav?
IKS division is there. IKS division is providing funds like anything. Huge funding is happening through IKS division.
But for very selected.
Proposal has to be, it cannot just be anything. Sir, what strategies can we as teachers adopt to identify and address unconscious gender biases in the classroom? I'm thinking of myself as a teacher. How would I handle such issues? How do I do that? So the first thing that I believe is to make ourselves sensitized on gender issues. Okay, whether by attending certain training courses funded by the institute or by ourselves, or by reading literature on that, which are available on various websites, or by talking to people, our colleagues, our maybe female colleagues, maybe sisters, wives, and others with whom we are comfortable, and understanding, knowing what are the gender issues that are there. Many men surely cannot even imagine several issues that women have, other than a few things that we know. I do a very interesting text in my class, which gives a altogether different dimension of about gender sensitization, about women's gender issues. So that book, which is based on certain interviews taken on real life from across the world, gives us an idea of several other gender issues which otherwise we think we know everything about gender issues. It's not so. So primarily it is important for us to understand what are the requirements of particularly women and the transgendered people, their emotional needs, the support that they need in institute, in a workplace, as colleagues, as teachers, that we can provide them. We need to understand that. And if occasions are there to speak about that through seminars, through small talks maybe, and wherever there are such issues, to address it directly. And university system, colleges should have some support group created who can at least handle the emergencies, so that gender issues are addressed too. We have faced such things, in the classes, issues happening. And what we have done as a department, we stood together and handled the issues in the very right manner. And people understood what is what. So the most important thing is to sensitize ourselves. And I think, speaking about gender issues is so very important in today's world. Women also should take roles to sensitize whomsoever it is possible, the males, about specific gender issues. Otherwise, the men's world will not understand, and they may not be able to address those issues. Empathy is so very important. Empathizing issues, not sympathy, empathy, understanding issues, listening to people, and providing them with a kind of solution, helping them out mentally. It's so very important initially. And then, of course, there are other bodies, ICC and others. If there are certain issues, they will take care. But as teachers, I believe it is our responsibility to handle issues in classroom itself whenever there is an issue, any problem, to move ahead. Hope I could respond to your query.
This question came from Dr. Dafi, right?
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Dafi. Dr. Dafi, the question had the answer in itself. When you said that about the unconscious bias, is just make it conscious.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think I understood that as
patriarchy is so deeply rooted that you'll see examples all around you. For example, the latest one that I see now in the classrooms, we are using this lapel mics, right? Those which, are they designed keeping the woman teacher in mind or the male teacher in mind?
True.
Especially for India, where female teachers would that attire does not suit them. They have to still carry it in the hand. Lapel mic was designed to kind of free the hand of the teacher, no? But so you just look around, there's enough, and in your classroom every day, make two of these unconscious biases conscious in your classroom. Every day. Do it every day.
Yeah.
I do it every day.
Yeah, if we do that, it will be a great service to the nation.
Absolutely, sir. Yes.
Yes. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else? You can also type your questions in the chat box.
Kindly check whether there is any more question. Nothing else.
Okay, so then I invite Dr. Banobrata Aditya.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. So I invite you to please deliver the vote of thanks to our resource person.
Myself, Dr. Banobrata Aditya, Head, Department of Bengali, Swami Vivekananda College, respected Chair, esteemed resource person, Professor Saugato Nath, and Honorable Coordinators, Dr. Govinda Sharma sir, and Dr. Kaivalya T. Desai sir, and distinguished participants and
Sorry.
dear colleagues. Good afternoon to you all. It is my great privilege and honor to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of everyone present here at the 34th session of the 14 refresher course organized by the Department of Sanskrit, Assam University, under MMTTC, Assam University, on the theme Recent Trends and Challenges in Teaching and Research in Language Studies and Social Sciences, an Indian Knowledge System Perspective. First and foremost, I express my deep sense of gratitude to our resource person, Professor Saugato Nath, Department of English, Assam University, for his insightful, engaging, and thought-provoking deliberation, his scholarly analysis, clarity of vision, and ability to connect the national education policy with contemporary linguistic studies have enriched us immensely. Sir, your lecture has broadened our understanding and inspired us to rethink pedagogical approaches in our respective disciplines. I also convey my sincere appreciation to the Department of Sanskrit, Assam University, for organizing this academically vibrant program and for giving me the opportunity to be a part of it. The department's commitment to advancing knowledge in the light of Indian knowledge system is truly admirable. I extend my thanks to all the participants, research scholars, and fellow academicians for your active engagement, thoughtful questions, and enthusiastic participation. Your presence and contribution add great value to the success of this session. Lastly, I thank the entire technical and support team of MMTTC and Assam University for their efficient management and assistance throughout today's event. With these words, I once again express my gratitude to all present. Lastly, pray for all to Almighty. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit दुःख भाग भवेत। धन्यवाद।
Thank you. Participants, we've shared on your group a list, a Word document. So all those against whose name we do not see the affiliation to, that is the university or the college or institution you belong to, please send that on our group so that we can update it. Okay? Just go through the list. Everyone just see the list. Against whosoever's name there is no mention, please mention. You just write it on the group, we'll update the list. We need this for the report urgently.
Thank you, participants, for listening to the presentation and for interacting also and giving your comments on the chat box. Thank you for being here. It was yet another opportunity for me to talk, to read further NEP document and to talk on this, and thereby I'm enriched. Thank you all. Thanks, dear organizers.
Thank you, Professor Swagat ji, for accepting our invitation and for delivering such a wonderful lecture. Some more information for the participants. Today is our 8th day, and as daily 4 session has been held, so 32 session has been held, but technically, as per the guidelines of MMTTC, the inaugural and the valedictory session will not be calculated. So we have to arrange two more sessions. Right now, we have completed 32 sessions, but only 31 session will be counted. So in another 4 days, we have to complete about 17 sessions. So today, for tomorrow, 5 classes will be there, and the session will be start from 8:30 a.m. Morning 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The classes will be held. 5 classes will be held tomorrow.
Yeah, there is no way out. You have to make up for this because the regulations are very clear.
कल 5 क्लासेस होंगी, सुबह 8:30 बजे से क्लास स्टार्ट होगी। और आप सबसे एक और निवेदन है कि आप बहुत पार्टिसिपेंट्स आपका जो रजिस्टर्ड ईमेल आईडी है उसके अतिरिक्त आप किसी दूसरे ईमेल से आप ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, तो वो आइडेंटिफाई करने में हमें काफी समस्या हो रही है, क्योंकि अभी मैंने एक लिस्ट देखा जिसके अंदर काफी सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स का काफी ज्यादा एब्सेंट है, लेकिन जब हमने उसके नाम से चेक किया तो हमने पाया कि वो प्रेजेंट है, लेकिन वो किसी दूसरे ईमेल आईडी से प्रेजेंट होंगे, तो वो लिस्ट के साथ वो मैपिंग नहीं हो पा रही है। तो आपका जो रजिस्टर्ड ईमेल आईडी है, आप उसी ईमेल आईडी से मीटिंग ज्वाइन कीजिए कि हमें पता चल सके कि कौन कौन पार्टिसिपेंट किस दिन मीटिंग में है। और ऑल सेशन आर मैंडेटरी फॉर ऑल द पार्टिसिपेंट्स, तो आप काइंडली अवेलेबल रहिए, मीटिंग में आप ऑन रहिए, बीच में आप एंट्री एग्जिट ऐसा मत कीजिए, आप लगातार मीटिंग में आप बने रहिए।
Thank you. We'll end for today.
सर असाइनमेंट के बारे में फिर से बता दीजिए। असाइनमेंट जी,
हाँ, असाइनमेंट
के बारे में।
सर मैं बीच बीच में निकल जाती हूँ, मेरे मोबाइल में प्रॉब्लम है, मैं दूसरा मोबाइल यूज करती हूँ, इसीलिए ऐसा होता है। ईमेल आईडी मेरा ही है।
नहीं, दूसरे मोबाइल से भी आप दूसरे मोबाइल से भी करने से आप अपने ही ईमेल से आपको लॉगिन करना है।
मेरा ही ईमेल है, बीच बीच में मैं निकल जाती हूँ, मेरा मोबाइल का प्रॉब्लम है इसीलिए।
ठीक है, लेकिन आप अपने ही ईमेल से दूसरे से भी लॉगिन कीजिएगा।
मेरा ही ईमेल है।
असाइनमेंट के बारे में क्या पूछ रहे थे कुलदीप जी?
नहीं सर, नहीं सर, थैंक यू सर।
जी सर, कैसे क्या करना है वो जी।
हेलो सर,
आपको 2 पार्ट में असाइनमेंट दिया गया है
जी।
आप सिंगल फाइल में, वर्ड फाइल में आप उसको सिंगल फाइल में करके उसका एक कवर पेज होगा, कवर पेज में जो एमएमटीसी और रिफ्रेशर कोर्स के जो डिटेल है आप उसके अंदर उस डिटेल को लिखेंगे और अपना नाम लिखेंगे, डेजिग्नेशन लिखेंगे और आप अपने संस्था का जो आपका इंस्टीट्यूशन का नाम है आप उसका नाम लिखेंगे। और अगर कोई आपका नंबर, अगर सीरियल नंबर कुछ अगर एमएमटीटीसी के द्वारा अगर प्राप्त दिया गया, कोई है क्या सीरियल नंबर? सीरियल नंबर की जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन आप अपना नाम और डेजिग्नेशन इसको आप कवर पेज पे दें। उसके बाद आपका पार्ट ए होगा, जिसमें पार्ट ए का जो असाइनमेंट है आप उसको करना है। और देन पार्ट बी, और उसके साथ में अगर आप एक्नॉलेजमेंट या किस तरह का जोड़ना चाहें तो वो आप ऐड कर सकते हैं। आपको गूगल फॉर्म में गूगल फॉर्म पे एक लिंक दिया गया है, आपको वहां पे अपलोड करना है और एक पार्टिसिपेंट सिर्फ एक ही बार अपलोड कर सकता है। एक दो पार्टिसिपेंट का मेरे पास मैसेज आया जिस दिन हमने असाइनमेंट दिया था, सेम डे रात में उन्होंने अपलोड कर दिया पार्ट ए, अब वो पार्ट बी सबमिट करना चाह रहे हैं, उनका पार्ट बी सबमिट नहीं हो रहा है, तो इस तरह की प्रॉब्लम आएगी। इसलिए आप सिंगल फाइल में पार्ट ए और पार्ट बी दोनों मिला करके सिंगल फाइल में आपको एक ही बार अपलोड करना है, और जिसकी लास्ट डेट 20th है, 20th ऑफ नवंबर 5 PM, 20th ऑफ नवंबर को 5 PM तक आप।
जी धन्यवाद, ठीक है, धन्यवाद।
हेलो सर, मैं कुछ बोलना चाहता हूँ। अभी गोविंद सर ने जो अपडेट करने के लिए बोला वो कुछ समझ नहीं आया, वो क्या मैं मिस कर गया तो ना।
आप एक लिस्ट आपको अभी ग्रुप पे दी है, पार्टिसिपेंट्स उसका टाइटल है,
एक्सेल शीट है ना,
नहीं वर्ड फाइल है, वो वर्ड फाइल खोलिए, वहां पे अपना नाम देखिए, अगर आपके नाम के आगे आपका अफिलिएशन मेंशन्ड है तो ठीक है, नहीं है तो इस ग्रुप पे डाल दीजिए। जैसे आपके नाम के, आप कहाँ से हैं?
तो त्रिपुरा से हूँ, धर्मनगर कॉलेज से।
हाँ, अगर आपका नाम के आगे लिस्ट कंप्लीट है, वहां पे आपका कॉलेज का नाम और वो लिखा हुआ है, तो आपको कोई कुछ नहीं करना है। अगर आप, ये सिर्फ उनके लिए है जिनके नाम के आगे वो कॉलम ब्लैंक है। आप बस एक बार लिस्ट खोल के देखिए।
So excuse me, sir. I have one clarification, sir. I have one doubt. It's me, Dr. Shivu speaking.
Yes,
sir. I would like to know regarding this Part A assignment. So, do we have to write the assignment on a topic followed by the summary of the paper presenter, or the whole assignment should be a summary of the person who has taken the lecture?
You have to write the session in which you were either. No, Part A he is asking. No.
Regarding Part A, you have to write the assignment.
You have to choose any 2 sessions.
Okay. All right, sir.
Any 2 from. So till 20th, you'll be at least 8, 9, 10, at least 40 sessions. You'll have a choice from 40 sessions, or at least 30.
Okay. Now regarding the summary, the whole assignment should be a summary, or the assignment should be followed by a summary?
See, you in your own words have to explain what was discussed.
Okay.
And then after that, you need to also highlight some of the key learning.
All right. All right. All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
और आप लोगों के एग्जाम की डेट हम 22 या 23 जो होगा वो हम आपको बाद में इन्फॉर्म करेंगे।
नमस्ते सर।
जी सुजीत जी।
जी एक सवाल और था, अभी जो पार्टिसिपेंट की लिस्ट आप दिए हैं वो हम देखे वर्ड फाइल है, लेकिन मेन में जो पार्टिसिपेंट की लिस्ट आया था तो उसमें जिस सीरियल नंबर में जिसका नाम था हम तो प्रोजेक्ट उसी सीरियल नंबर से डाले हैं, लेकिन इसमें मेरा नाम बहुत नीचे है और उसका सीरियल नंबर भी अलग है।
उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है। आप बस ग्रुप पे अपना नाम और अपना इंस्टीट्यूशन का एफिलिएशन दे दीजिए, हम ऐड कर लेंगे। और किसी का डाउट है? ओके, देन वी विल एंड टुडेज सेशन।